In the mid-1950s, as America glowed with post-war prosperity, highways filled with cars and cities grew by the day. But not everyone drove their own. Millions of Americans began their mornings aboard GM's old-look buses, their Detroit diesel engines pulsing like the heartbeat of the city. Among them, the GM TDH-4509 was the most remembered, a bus that never promised glamour but became tied to youth, work, and the growing American dream. It stood as proof of an era when steel, diesel, and American engineering genius shaped the nation's movement. Yet behind that symbol lay secrets few ever knew, a story of power, ambition, and how one bus helped reshape transportation across the United States. In 1940, General Motors introduced the old-look bus line, replacing the outdated yellow coach models of the 1930s. It was the result of over a decade of steady innovation, as GM began applying large-scale automobile manufacturing techniques to public transit. Interestingly, the name Old Look wasn't created by GM. It came later from engineers and drivers after the futuristic New Look buses appeared in 1959. At its debut, the Old Look was anything but old. It symbolized the future of American city transportation. By 1950, GM launched the TDH-4509, regarded as the ultimate refinement of the Old Look series. The name TDH stood for transit, diesel, hydraulic, highlighting three defining elements: a diesel-powered engine, a hydraulic automatic transmission, and a design purpose-built for urban service. The rounded front end, split by two curved windshield panes, reduced wind resistance while giving the bus a friendly, recognizable face. This soft, approachable styling contrasted sharply with the boxy European buses of the same era. The raised emblem, General Motors Coach Division, across the nose, served as a proud declaration of American industrial power. Twin round headlights and a minimalist grille followed the classic design rule of form follows function. The body lines were smooth and purposeful, accented by thin chrome strips running along the sides, not for show, but to emphasize proportion and cleanliness. Every panel was designed for easy replacement and quick repair, reducing downtime for transit operators. In proportion, the 4509 measured about 35 feet long and 8.5 feet wide, the ideal size for maneuverability in crowded cities while still accommodating over 40 passengers. The large side windows flooded the cabin with natural light, making rides feel open and airy. And when you step aboard a GM TDH-4509, you'll understand what comfort meant in the 1950s. Not air conditioning, not radios, not plush seating, but simplicity and absolute reliability. Every detail inside was designed with one clear purpose: to last long, work hard, and serve efficiently. Seats were wrapped in gray or olive green vinyl, supported by sturdy welded steel frames. The surfaces were easy to clean and could endure decades of use without tearing or cracking. They weren't soft, but they felt solid, what GM engineers proudly called the mechanical sense of safety. The floor was lined with thick anti-slip rubber, durable enough to withstand millions of footsteps. Overhead, a row of warm fluorescent lights cast a soft yellow glow, the kind of lighting that comforted night shift workers heading home. The side windows slid open manually, letting in fresh air long before air conditioning ever became standard. The driver's area was another world: simple, mechanical, and purely industrial. A steering wheel nearly the size of a bicycle tire dominated the cockpit, with just a few analog gauges: oil pressure, water temperature, and RPM. Next to it stood the Hydromatic Hydraulic Shifter, GM's pride, allowing effortless gear changes without the strain of a manual clutch. No digital buttons, no modern technology. Yet everything ran smoothly, like a machine forged by human willpower. Inside that mechanical symphony beat the steel heart of the Detroit diesel 671, supported by the unbreakable monocoque chassis that made the GM TDH-4509 one of the toughest buses ever built. Developed by General Motors' Detroit Diesel Division, the 671 was an inline six-cylinder two-stroke engine with a displacement of 426 cubic inches, producing around 190 horsepower. Modest in numbers, perhaps, but its enormous torque and flat power curve gave the 22,000-pound bus effortless strength to conquer the steepest hills and busiest streets of America. Its secret lay in the Roots-type supercharger, a mechanical blower that helped the engine breathe easily and maintain torque across all speeds. When the driver pressed the throttle, the 671 emitted its famous high-pitched whine, the unmistakable voice of Detroit diesel. It was more than noise. It was the sound of America in motion. Many could identify an approaching 4509 just by hearing that whine echo from down the block. The engine was mounted transversely at the rear, a daring innovation for its time. This configuration reduced cabin noise, freed up passenger space, and improved cooling efficiency. With its water cooling system, high-pressure oil pump, and electric starter, the engine could run for thousands of hours without rest. Many TDH-4509s recorded over 1 million miles before requiring major rebuilds, a remarkable feat for any vehicle of its era. But a powerful heart needs a strong skeleton. GM engineered the 4509 with a fully welded steel monocoque body, abandoning the heavy ladder frame designs of earlier buses. This new structure reduced weight, increased rigidity, and nearly eliminated cracking even after decades of operation. An independent front suspension and heavy-duty rear leaf springs gave the bus an unexpectedly smooth ride, while the two-speed Hydromatic hydraulic transmission, one of GM's proudest innovations, made shifting effortless, reducing driver fatigue during long city routes. Its Bendix Westinghouse air brake system offered reliable, consistent stopping power, far superior to older hydraulic setups. Maintenance, too, was brilliantly simple. Lift a floor hatch, and mechanics could access the entire drivetrain within minutes. Together, these elements created a mechanical symphony of American engineering. Every hiss, every hum, every gear shift and note in perfect balance. But behind that perfect machine lay a story far less noble. A commercial conspiracy that reshaped America's public transportation forever. GM wasn't just selling buses, it was quietly re-engineering the entire transit landscape to ensure the TDH-4509 would reign supreme. In the late 1930s and early 1940s, General Motors, along with Firestone Tire, Standard Oil, Phillips Petroleum, and Mack Truck, secretly formed a company called National City Lines (NCL). On paper, their mission sounded progressive, to modernize urban transportation, but the truth was far darker. NCL began buying up electric streetcar systems across dozens of cities, including Los Angeles, Baltimore, St. Louis, and New York. Once acquired, they ripped out the rails, scrapped the streetcars, and replaced them with fleets of GM diesel buses. In this strategy, the TDH-4509 became the main weapon. Painted in its signature yellow and green livery, it symbolized speed, modernity, and efficiency. With powerful engines and lower operating costs, the 4509 made it easy for NCL to dominate America's city transit. However, in 1949, the scheme was exposed. The US government charged GM and its partners with conspiring to dismantle the nation's electric transit systems. They were found guilty, but fined only $5,000, a meaningless sum for such corporate giants. Within less than 2 decades, over 90% of America's streetcar systems had vanished. The TDH-4509 and its old-look siblings became symbols of a new era, one where internal combustion replaced electricity, and asphalt roads took the place of steel tracks. By the late 1950s, America once again stepped into a new era, one defined by curved glass, aluminum frames, and futuristic styling. General Motors, always chasing progress, unveiled the new look bus in 1959. Almost overnight, the old-look models like the TDH-4509 became nostalgic reminders of a passing age. The new look, affectionately nicknamed the fishbowl for its large, rounded windshield, appeared sleek and space-age. It was lighter, more fuel-efficient, and carried more passengers, a reflection of post-war America's prosperity and optimism. Yet, not everyone was ready to say goodbye to the old look. Veteran drivers who had spent years behind the wheel of a TDH-4509 swore by its sturdiness. The fishbowl may look fancier, one driver said, but it never felt as solid or as real as the 4509. Mechanics agreed. The old look was thicker, simpler, and built like it was meant to last forever. Even after production ended in 1959, many continued to serve for 15 to 20 more years. Some were sold to smaller cities, others exported to South America, where they ran well into the early 1980s. A few were reborn as tour buses, training vehicles, or even homemade motorhomes. From there, the old look entered a new chapter, one of memory and nostalgia. Once the workhorse of the American labor class, it has since become a symbol of a simpler, hard-working nation built on mechanical pride. The sound of the Detroit Diesel 671 still echoes as a reminder of a time when machines carried the pulse of humanity. In faded photographs, the 4509 still rolls through crowded streets, yellow and green paint gleaming under neon lights, passengers smiling in motion. Nothing glamorous, yet profoundly real, the daily rhythm of mid-century American life. Today, a number of TDH-4509s are preserved in transportation museums such as the Illinois Railway Museum, Pacific Bus Museum, and New York Transit Museum. Others still run in parades and vintage tours, acting as time machines that bring Americans back to the days when diesel was the sound of national strength. Across online forums and social media, vintage bus enthusiasts keep the legend alive, sharing photos, trading rare parts, even recreating the 671's whine, just to hear old America again. Perhaps that's why the TDH-4509 never truly disappeared. It simply left the streets to live forever in memory, among those who once shared the road with it through the ever-changing seasons of America. If you've ever seen a yellow and green bus with a friendly round face in an old black and white photo, chances are it was the GM TDH-4509 old look. It wasn't just transportation, it was a piece of American history, where technology, people, and faith in machinery moved as one. If you've ever ridden, driven, or simply heard stories about the old look, share your memories below. What do you remember most? The sound, the smell of diesel, or the gentle vibration as it rolled down the street. And if you'd like me to tell the next chapter, the story of the new look bus, the machine that replaced this legend, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. The journey through America's mechanical past is just getting started.